Good morning, Sandeep Chouhan. You are the Chief Operations Officer for Mashreq, and you are responsible for operations and technology at the bank. In a world where banking is being transformed by digital changes, what does that mean for you as the Chief Operating Officer?
My job is enabling the bank to compete in a very aggressive marketplace that is transforming, with competition bringing in a new range of services, products, and trying to capture new markets.
And that competition, it's not the traditional other banks, it's technology companies and fintechs and
both.
Things like.
So, of course, the existing banks are looking to continue to move up the value chain. We have new entrants, the fintechs, which are trying to bring in point solutions. We also have other industries, the Googles and the Amazons of the world, that are wanting to, who are big players and are very integral in the everyday customers' ecosystem that are trying to enter. So the competition is from everywhere, and the whole business model is constantly under threat. We have seen, with advancements of technology and transformation in other industry sectors, customers expect services to be delivered free.
So the role of Chief Operating Officer or Head of Operations and Technology, that's gone from being a support function to actually being the cutting edge, the competitive edge of the bank now.
Yes. My role has really transformed from being an enabler to being a competitive edge. We provide the technology, and technology-enabled services are the product in banking. If you can't do it through technology, you can't offer the service. And customers value speed and transparency. And that's what the evolution of technology that we are seeing is bringing to the table far more quickly.
So maybe if we can now look at the big picture, what exactly is going on? We hear about digital transformation and the disruptive influence of digital technology and big data. So in the big picture, what is happening to the banking sector?
What the world calls as a digital transformation, in my opinion, we are in the midst of a digital storm. This is a storm that is bringing with it so many different winds of technology change. We are seeing massive evolution in analytics, in robotics, in mobility, in cloud computing, payments. There are several strands of technology evolution that in the last 3 to 5 years the pace has accelerated quite significantly. And all of them are hitting the corporations, both is hitting the banks, is hitting the customers.
Would you say that the banking sector or the financial services sector is being battered by this digital storm more than any other sector? It seems to me that every day there's, whether it's cryptocurrency or fintech or the speed of automated trading, it seems like the financial sector is going faster than anything.
Yes, it is, because the nature of the service is transactional, and a lot of the services that are consumed and delivered by banks are digitally enabled, right? So the product is a digital service, and anything that happens, and all these digital technologies are coming in on that service layer. And we are seeing a very significant arrival of these technologies. These technologies have a few unique things about them. They are non-invasive. They are extremely easy to adapt into the ecosystem, both within banks as well as on our customers and corporates. These technologies are scalable. They are industrial from the time they hit and arrive at these organizations. And third is, most impactful, they deliver true value to the companies they serve. They help us very meaningfully transform the service experience we give to our customers and help us very significantly change the cost efficiency that we badly need to run a profitable enterprise.
So for me, I can see two obvious questions. One is what does it mean for banks and how are the banks going to change? But then what does it mean for the bank's customers? So if we start with the second question, if I am a company and I want to raise finance for, to deliver a project or to finance my cash flow whilst, for the operations of my business, how will my relationship with the bank change? Will I no longer be dealing with people? Will things happen faster? Will my costs go down? Will the cost of working with banks reduce?
Customers value good service. And within service, speed is an absolute winner. Whoever is able to offer you speedy, transparent service, customers will do business with that bank. At Mashreq, for our corporate customers, we are enabling our relationship managers benefiting from these technologies by giving them and empowering them as they meet the key decision makers of these corporations. When they sit with them, we give them access and leveraging technology tools at their fingertips, leveraging mobility, leveraging analytics. We give them the ability to have access to market intelligence that they can share with our customers and key decision makers of what is happening in their industry.
Is what you're saying then that because the use of technology can take on the routine, the process-driven tasks, the customer relations element of banking can focus on greater knowledge, greater insight, greater value to the borrower?
Yes. So when it comes to taking on customer requests and transactions, we have now built sufficient artificial intelligence and robotic capabilities within our ecosystem, wherein we can take proposals and we are able to analyze and identify solutions that suit the patterns of similar transactions that we may have performed in the past. It allows us to take these transactions and execute them at a far greater speed and eliminate the friction that may exist as this transaction passes through our internal ecosystem. So we are not only digitizing this on the front end, but as it passes through the risk management functions, as it passes through the operational transactions, operational departments of the bank, we are able to provide this automation which eliminates the need for human touch, and robots are an excellent way to be able to perform these tasks on a repetitive and accurate manner and at super speed.
Are we experienced enough yet to see what the qualitative benefits of robots are? I mean, the one, I guess, is on the bottom line, the cost of doing business from a bank point of view. But in terms of risk allocation or assessing risk better,
yes.
Can we see any benefits so far?
Yes, we have. So you're right. So speed and accuracy are very well understood elements of what robotics does. But I'll give you an example of customer due diligence. We, on a routine basis, perform due diligence on our customers and the customer's customers, because the performance of my customer is dependent on what his debtors are doing for him. We used to have a process where we had to go to 26 external sources to assimilate this information on our customers' financial health, and that process used to take us close to 3 hours. And given the volume of customers we have, we were able to perform this activity once in 6 months. With a robot, we are practically able to do this every week. So the due diligence on our customers' financial health and our ability to see any signs of stress that may be arriving into their own businesses and their wider ecosystem. So the cycle at which we are able to perform a risk has shortened dramatically and gives us the ability to react, go back and have a much more consultative dialogue with the customer. There are times that we have had where customers have in fact heard of an emerging scenario from us even before they knew of it from their own internal controls. So the ability to not only bring this data together, but to be able to convert it into meaningful insights, to be able to match it against known patterns of emerging risk and be able to flag this off is something that we have been able to do purely because of this.
The changes you're talking about in the bank's ability to conduct risk assessments and to advise its customers, is this for corporate customers and retail customers, or primarily just for individuals? Or
no, we've done this primarily for our corporate customers because they are large corporates with multi-entity complex relationships. They depend on a wide ecosystem of suppliers, and it's always very hard to keep track of the changing financial health of some of these people. So we are able to offer that advice ahead of time and work with them, in structuring or restructuring the financing that we do for them.
So for banks, before we talk about Mashreq in detail, for banks in general, where should they be investing? They should be investing in robots, in artificial intelligence, in exactly the technologies you're talking about. That's the new competitive landscape for banks.
So I'll give you the ABC of digital, because that's what we are discussing here, is the modernization of the banking, and digital being the buzzword that represents that modernization in this current era. So my advice on the ABC of digital is: A is for artificial intelligence, B is for big data, and C is for cloud. I believe banks should very meaningfully embrace these three themes. There is a tremendous promise it is bringing to these organizations to transform both the customer experience, the customer proposition, as well as significantly transform the processes, the decision making on the inside, and drive a far more efficient place.
So what does that mean for competition? What are the banks competing with each other on? Is it their technology capability? Is it their market insight? In the future, 10 years down the line, when big data and cloud and artificial intelligence are well established as the drivers of core process, and what will the banks be competing on?
The competition always is the quality of insight and the relationship that you have with the customer. The deeper you understand the customer and the more insight and advice thought partnership you can offer to customers is invaluable. That is not going to change. So these technologies that we speak about are largely to take away the mechanistic work that is done, be able to provide the insights or provide access to developing those insights on a far more accurate, far more frequent basis. So these technologies are enablers, but the banks of the future and the speed with which banks can embrace these technologies means it allows them and their staff to spend far more time in deriving insights, identifying far more personalized solutions that serve the specific needs of the customer, right? I think the focus always has been on how these technologies drive efficiency from a cost perspective. But as you're right, in a few years' time, once this becomes commonplace with all corporations, that's where the competition will be. The personalized nature of the service, the personalized nature of the market intelligence, the ability to structure deals, and be able to serve the special requests from these customers.
So the current phase of development is the technology transformation or the digital transformation. The next phase is the personalisation. So once all of the digital transformation is embedded as just core expectation, it's that personalisation. And so is Mashreq looking at that stage already? And where is Mashreq in that process, both on the digital side and then what comes next?
Yeah. So Mashreq's been on this, is a market leader in embracing technology through its heritage. It's one of the most innovative organizations in the region and has a very long-standing heritage of delivering innovative solutions to customers. This recent digital wave that we are seeing, we got onto this journey about 2 years ago. We have put in place fairly robust infrastructure on robotics and artificial intelligence. We have close to 300 robots. We perform over 100,000 transactions internally every day.
You say Mashreq has 300 robots at the moment, and does that mean you have 300 robots that are 24 hours a day, 7 days a week going through their processes, or does that number vary according to, do they respond on demand to needs, and does the number sometimes go up, and the number of robots that are active, and how does that work?
You're right. So we've got an inventory of 300 processes across the bank that we have digitized, and based upon the volume of account opening, fund transfers, statement request, checkbook request, trade finance queries, and so on and so forth. So we've, over these 2 years, built this inventory of digitized processes. Based upon the shifting demand during the course of the day, week, end of the month, we have to rebalance these robotic workers. On the other hand, we've got robotic workers which can pick up these digital processes and serve the demand. So it's a completely new paradigm of managing your workforce. So like we've been used to managing a human workforce, I think we have learned and are beginning to mature in managing a digital workforce.
And is managing a digital workforce, is that done by a digital manager or is it a human manager?
So there are tools available. We've got robotic command centers that are supervised by humans. You have to appreciate these are new technologies, and these robotic processes, digital workers also make mistakes. So they are not different from human workers. It's just that they make fewer mistakes and they require to be upskilled as well. So we've got dedicated robotic command centers that are manned 24/7, supervising the transactions that are being performed, and continuously looking for the pass and failure rates, continuously looking for ways to upskill them. And we also look at, of course, there's a new shift on utilization. Earlier, with the human workforce, the utilization was an 8-hour working day utilization, whereas with digital workers, you have the ability to maximize a 24-hour working day and get the highest level of throughput from these.
That ability to manage that, to maximize the efficiency or to optimize the processes of all these different robots, that requires quite a different set of skills, I imagine, from traditional bank management. So does that mean a bank like Mashreq, where you're investing in robots, you're also having to hire in computer scientists and digital scientists rather than traditional finance people? Does it change the nature of the workforce?
So I would say that these are new technologies. It's not that there are lots of people out there who are performing these activities. So at Mashreq, we have had a long-standing heritage of adopting lean. For the last 10 years, we have been working on process re-engineering and process improvement. And what these technologies have done is they have brought and accelerated those skills. So there's been a significant upskilling of our managers and operators who have now become much more familiar with the supervision that is required of both, not just the human worker, but also of the digital worker. And We have programs that allow, that teach our staff embracing these technologies into their everyday life, and whether it is robotic opportunities to implement robotic capabilities, the huge shift to leveraging the massive amounts of big data insights that are available to them, and to be able to understand opportunities for the customer, opportunities for the bank to serve these customers better, and drive profitability and cost efficiency across the bank. This is also, these technologies, I may add, goes a long way in strengthening the controls. So as a regulated entity, and as an organization that has a responsibility to deliver services to customer, there's a very strong applicability of these technologies to strengthen the control environment in which we operate.
So we're talking about massive transformation on the digital side and on the skills side. But for all of this to work, certain things have to be in place. Firstly, there has to be accurate data. The data that's being input into the cloud or into the process has to be accurate. So people need to be transparent. Then there has to be that element of trust that the data is going to be kept secret.
Integrity, yeah.
And then I guess also, certainly in this part of the world, when you're dealing with government contracts or businesses who are working with government, sometimes people aren't that willing to share information either. Where are we positioned in the Gulf and in the UAE in terms of regulation and in terms of enabling that data transparency and even requiring it? Because I imagine there has to be an element of requirement for the transparency thing to work. So are we... Mashreq is at the head of the curve in terms of the investment, and we can see the vision, but is the legislative infrastructure keeping up and the regulatory framework keeping up?
Yes. I think we are blessed to be in the UAE, where the government is so much more forward thinking. The regulators are constantly revising and reinventing the regulations to allow for the adoption of these technologies and these new operating models, if you may. You touched upon one of the most important elements, which is data privacy. And yet it is the responsibility not just of the regulator, but of the individual banks. And I think we all take it very seriously, and in how we are receiving the data, how we are protecting the data, and with an increasing digital world, the data exchange needs to be far more protected. So the regulations are evolving in line with the arrival of these technologies that allow data exchange, data residency, the advent of cloud, and so on and so forth. Also, the government in the UAE and across the GCC is putting a very significant support structure to deal with cyber security and the threat of around cyber security and dealing with that. So there is a very significant national infrastructure that exists and is keeping itself attuned with the global emerging trends of the threat actors at the national stage. Also, we are seeing there's been a lot of organizational level capability uplift that is happening. There is a far more cooperation between the banks. We have the United Banks Federation, which is leading the threat intelligence, putting in place a threat intelligence cooperation platform, which allows the banks to share as these threats are similar. So one part of the bank, it doesn't give any joy if one part of the banking system is compromised. Those threats are real for all parts of
So
the
for all of that to work, you need this collaboration within the industry and I guess with government as well. So that is happening.
Yes, so both the government, the regulators, at the national level, these are very clearly developed programs, as well as the banking federation is putting in a lot of effort, a lot of collaboration, and we have indeed had several instances of very significant protection that we've been able to offer the members as virtue of this collaboration that we see. We've seen a lot of emerging global threats around cyber incidents, particularly pertaining to SWIFT. Mm-hmm. And I think the region has been particularly rapid to respond to that. And I think we are doing a best that can be done. Of course, it's a constantly evolving landscape. You spoke about cryptocurrency and the arrival of that. Like anywhere else, the regulators are looking at it very cautiously. It hasn't yet hit mainstream. As we know, the birth of these cryptocurrencies took place in the dark web. Its initial popularity or the use cases that came up were pertaining to cyber crime and how it was being used as a medium to exchange or blackmail in the cyber world. So the starting point has been rather dark and hasn't caught so there is a lot more evolution that needs to take place in that area for the regulators to legitimize it. The underlying technological components, i.e. blockchain, holds a lot of promise.
What does that mean? So the underlying platforms for cryptocurrency, this blockchain technology, how might that transfer itself to the mainstream?
Yeah. So the whole ability to share information in a secure manner between entities is a very long-standing problem that this technology has the promise to solve. The model is very sound. It allows for information sharing between entities in a very secure manner. It's a long-standing problem that allows individuals and corporates to transact across. And there are many, many applications for this. However, it has not yet become commoditized. It is definitely in the early years of its